When it came time to write the scripts for Mega Man X5 through 8, I actually replayed most of them twice, just so I could glean a little more info to talk about that I missed during the first playthrough. And for the most part, I was happy to do it, even if just to add a few more little tidbits of trivia into each video. But the one game I absolutely refused to replay, even for science, was Mega Man X7. That should tell you all you need to know about this game. I just couldn't subject myself to that torture again. I try to be objective with my retrospectives, honestly. As flawed and broken as X6 was, it did have some things going for it. And honestly, if it wasn't for the nightmare system that was shoehorned into the gameplay, it would have been a perfectly fine but mediocre X game. X7, on the other hand, is fundamentally flawed all the way to its core. It's one of the only games I've ever played that I could honestly say has no discernible positive traits in any regard. Not a single moment of this game brought me any semblance of joy. Not even a, haha, this is so bad it's comical kind of joy. Just pure, unadulterated despair and frustration. Wes, surely you're being hyperbolic. I'm not.
And don't call me Shirley.
But what's actually so bad about this game? I think the easiest way to explain it is that it fails or under-delivers in everything it's attempting to do. Let's start with the story. But first, if you haven't watched it already, check out the Rise of Mega Man X, my video documenting the first 4 X games. If you aren't already a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Written invitation? Well, here it is. I also have a Patreon, so go check out the goodies on there. Anywho, back to the depths of hell we go. There's an animated cutscene showing new character Axel, a member of the Maverick hunting group Red Alert, pulling off a hit job on some sketchy-looking Reploids. I mean, they could be raising money for a children's cancer charity for all we know. The suitcase just implies criminal activity. If you think their backstory will be explained any further, surprise, it won't. Since the last game, X has taken a backseat in the Maverick Hunters, no longer wanting to be a weapon of killing. X has always been a pacifist, so I don't know what's suddenly changed, other than, you know, Capcom wanting an excuse to make Axel the main character here. That's right, this is an X game where you don't play as X for the majority of the game.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Axel also sounds like Bobby Hill, and once I realized that, I couldn't not hear it anymore.
Are you stupid? You're in danger if you just stand there.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
For the first time, X and Zero have full voice acting, for better or worse. And by that I mean for worse.
Welcome to my silly stage! Here goes nothing! Yeah!
Zero sounds a lot like Knuckles from the Sonic Adventure games, at least in how monotone he reads his lines.
All right. Put him up. Hand over the emerald now.
Are you connected to this incident? What's going on?
Not really how I pictured Zero's voice in my head. X somehow sounds even worse.
To finish things, I've got to do it. To finish this once and for all.
The opening stage has you switching between Zero and Axel. Zero feels a little better to play as, but why in God's green earth did they make him have a horizontal jumping slash?
Oh my God, look at him. Look at him. What a muppet.
The controls are just awful. Everyone moves at a snail's pace, and the jumping and shooting feels completely off. The game also loads incredibly slow. Everything feels so sluggish. This is making me miss X6. Despite its problems, at least it felt like a Mega Man X game. The opening stage is a recreation of the highway scene from X1. They even included the bee choppers. It's not nearly as fun as the original, but it is cool seeing familiar enemies and bosses in 3D. Axel has a special copy attack that lets him transform into certain enemies, not unlike Kirby. The enemies he could transform into, however, are incredibly generic and dull, and it takes way too much work and it's never worth it. Weirdly, X7 is a 3D game, yet there's no 3D animated cutscenes. Instead, they use character portraits, but it's just portraits of the 3D models, so it's almost like no actual art was drawn for this game. And the 3D design is just incredibly ugly. Oof, man, even these menus are ugly. Graphics-wise, this looks and feels and plays like an N64 game, and probably would have fared better on that, but on the PS2, it's unacceptable. The levels also tend to do a side-scrolling perspective most of the time anyways, so it makes you wonder why they even bothered making it 3D at all. After the intro, a scene plays out where Zero takes Axel back to the Maverick Hunters HQ to introduce him to X. Axel recently left Red Alert, after realizing the group had turned evil, and he wants to change sides. Mega Man bitches and whines about not wanting Axel to join. They really made X into a wet blanket in this game. He's a total douche.
That's quite enough! You need to back off and pay the dues for your crimes!
Red, leader of Red Alert, says that he wants Axel back. Axel is a unique asset to the group because of his copying ability, and Red doesn't want him to leave. He challenges the Maverick Hunters to defeat 8 Mavericks or hand back Axel, and thus a loose plot has been established to justify our main gameplay. For the first time in the X series, not counting X3, you could freely switch back and forth between 2 characters. This might seem like a good idea, but it's really not. First, it makes the game way too easy. Since you don't share a health bar with your partner, you basically have 2 full health bars. Second, the level challenges and boss attacks really should be designed in such a way that each character could approach it differently, but because you could switch at any time, it means that no challenge is really ever intentionally designed for specific characters. The lost Reploids from previous games are here again. There's no story justification for why they need rescuing though, they're just there.
Come and rescue us, big boy.
Yes, come and save us.
Save us.
Get your tight little ass over here.
The Dr. Light capsules also return. I guess that shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but since everything else is now, you'd never know. He'll give you all the pieces you need to assemble the glide armor. The titular armor piece lets X float around like Sora when he reaches Neverland. Weirdly, Dr. Light warns X to only use the glide ability for good, which, I mean, how could he use that for evil? What is he expecting X to use the glide for? Hey, you there. Do you like Mega Man? How about wearing clothing? If you fit either of these categories, you may just like these new fashionable items on the Wes Does Games store. First, we have this X design, which comes with all sorts of variations. But maybe you're more of a Zero sort of fella. Well, he's here too. There's even a black armor version which can be unlocked with money, rather than a combination of button presses on a title screen. I've also got sweatshirts with these designs and stickers too. And if any of this tickles your fancy, you may want to check out my other items, such as this Lloyd shirt, or this Lucina sweatshirt, or this Snake shirt where he has the big booty. Buy now at wesdoesgames.shop. I'm currently running a sale for the first 10 days of whenever this video gets posted. If you're watching this in the future, you missed your chance at greatness. Go be sad. The Maverick bosses in X7 are so freaking dumb it hurts to think about. The first is Soldier Stone Kong. He's a gorilla who thinks he's a philosopher, but nothing he says has any weight or importance at all.
First, I ask you, what is strength? What is war?
A method for imposing one's will upon another.
Precisely. Now, no more talk.
And his stage is completely mediocre. Then there's Tornado Tunyon. Capcom obviously forgot that there's a bunch of animals that they haven't used yet, and we're just like, I don't know, have we done an onion-themed Maverick yet? No? Well, f it, let's do an onion this time, guys.
Here goes nothing, yeah!
Splash Warfly's stage is probably the closest thing to what I'd consider enjoyable in the whole game. It takes place on the deck of several battleships in the ocean, and I'm kind of surprised the X series hasn't done a stage like this yet, if you don't count Launch Octopuses. Unfortunately, the best the stage ever gets is meh, and again, this is the best stage. Flame Hyenard is so extra.
Burn to the ground! Burn to the ground! Burn! Burn! Burn to the ground! Burn!
Hey, should we have him say any other lines but burn it to the ground? No, that's the only one we recorded? Well, just call the voice actor back to the studio. What's that? He's dead? But we just got those 2 lines from him. Oh, well, it should be fine.
Burn! Burn!
This is the most broken boss fight of all time. These hyenas keep attacking you to prevent you from doing anything, and they keep endlessly respawning, trapping you in an endless damage loop. It's like the devs didn't test this fight at all. Incidentally, Hyenard seems to be suffering from some kind of madness that's causing him physical pain. This seemed appropriate considering the living hell female hyenas have to go through. If you want to know more, consult the internet. Spoilers, they give birth from their and it's horrific. Ride Borsky has a gimmick level, much like Jet Stingray's stage from X4. Borsky has rigged a highway with explosives, and it's your job to drive your cute little motorcycle around and collect the explosives before the timer runs out. Actually sounds like a fun time, right? Wrong. The controls for the bike are so absolutely broken. Turning is a nightmare, and the only way to collect the items is to basically slow down to a crawl and very delicately turn into them. It's not exactly what I'd call a fun, high-speed adventure. It's just really tedious. And Borsky himself, well, I'll let this scene speak for itself.
So you're the big cheese.
Big cheese? Ugh, how dare you call me that? I'm the head honcho for crying out loud.
Snipe Anteater is in charge of an internet-themed level for some reason. If you think this is going to be like Battle Network, set your expectations lower. Instead, it's a go through these portals that flips the world upside down, back and forth kind of a deal, and it's a tremendous chore. Wind Crowrang. Despite having a stupid name, Crowrang is a decently designed boss, aesthetically at least. The stage involves soaring through the sky and hopping from ship to ship, which seems like a fun premise initially, but it gets old really fast. Vanishing Gungaroo is an interesting Maverick. He's a baby kangaroo who rides around in a mech suit. Personally, I think it would have been better if the mech was his mom, so I could kill his mom during the boss fight. That may seem harsh, but listen to this little f***er.
Look at me! Look at me! I'm king of the mountain!
Unfortunately, Gungaroo's stage is the most bland, forgettable stage in the game. The gimmick is simply that you're in the right armor the whole time. That's it. That's not interesting enough of a gimmick, Mega Man X7, come on. It's also pretty clear that the developers had no idea what sound a kangaroo was supposed to make. As a whole, the stage designs and enemy placement is pretty awful. Pretty much all the enemies phase in one at a time, rather than already being out on the map. I'm assuming this is because the game couldn't handle rendering all of them simultaneously, but it just comes off as a glaring hardware limitation, and it makes the gameplay even more messed up. Imagine jumping over a pit, only for a bat to phase into the game right in front of you. This is also pretty awkward looking with the Reploids you need to rescue. They phase into the map when you get close by, and it's like, why do they need our help? They could clearly teleport away on their own. Speaking of which, I mentioned in my last video how lazy the placement of the Reploids was, but this game takes it to the max. Especially on stages like Tornado Tunyons, a very linear level where there isn't really any good spots to put rescuable Reploids. So they just kinda slap them wherever. Here's 3 in a row right in front of you.
Where do you think you're going, big boy?
Come over here and rescue us.
Yeah, and then you can us.
Us.
Yeah, come us.
All of us, please.
One positive thing about X7, in my opinion at least, is that the upgrade system is a lot more streamlined than before. You get upgrade points from rescuing Reploids, and you can use those points towards attack, defense, or special things. It's simpler than X6, and it's not essential for beating the game. As far as the soundtrack goes, hey, do you like bland, forgettable music that doesn't make you feel anything, like at all? Well, then you'll love X7's soundtrack. These songs are so aggressively mediocre, they should have their own Netflix original movie starring Gal Gadot. Between every level or so, you'll be treated to these cutscenes that help progress the story. They're redundant and unskippable and boring as all get out.
Yeah, let's show that Red Alert how it's done.
Through these scenes, we find out that Sigma is back and is manipulating Red Alert in order to get at Axel and X's DNA data. After X3 had Sigma at his peak power, the series has done a pretty decent job establishing that he's getting weaker with each revival. In X6, he was a blathering skeleton that even X felt sorry for and wanted to put out of his misery. In this game, Sigma is just magically back and at full power. There's no attempt to explain why. The special weapons in X7 work a little different this time around, at least for Zero. Rather than getting new saber techniques, Zero swaps out his sword for a variety of different weapons like a spear, tonfas, and more. They slightly mix up his main attack, but that's about it. I don't absolutely hate this. As for X, he'll receive the Wind Cutter, the Sniper Missile, the Moving Wheel, the Circle Blaze, the Splash Laser, the Volt Tornado, the Gay Shield, and the Explosion. It's just called The Explosion. X and Axel share these sub-weapons, and they're just as uncreative and redundant as you might expect. I don't think I used them a single time. The final stages at the Red Alert base are probably the most boring and uninspired final stages in the whole series. Fortunately, there's only 2 of them. The first starts with a chase sequence where the player has to make their way across this broken highway while a steamroller robot going 5 miles an hour tries to flatten you.
Watch out! Watch out!
Despite being a 3D game, the developers made the ridiculous decision to not let you control the camera at all. Honestly, for most of the game you don't have to, but in certain areas like Red's boss fight, it could get pretty absurd. I mean, it's this giant open area where you have to jump from platform to platform, and I literally can't see behind me.
Surprise, motherfucker!
After defeating Red, you'll go through a series of stages that don't seem to really have any rhyme or reason behind their layout, then obligatory boss rush, then Sigma's first and second form. His first form is a joke, but this second form is appropriately epic. He turns into a colossal Gundam-sized version of himself. By the way, there's no cutscenes or animation showing how this happened, he's just suddenly the size of the moon. And you have to fight him in space, which there's also no context for. You're just in space now. The best part of this fight, by far, is that Sigma now has a laser, and he whips it out for tremendous damage.
Oh my god, it looks like a huge...
Hacker!
Oh yeah.
After the fight, Sigma is suddenly small again. Red appears, and Sigma goes to grab him and incorporate his strength into himself, I guess. But then, surprise, it's actually Axel using his copy ability. Did you forget about that? The story certainly did up until now. Axel lands the finishing blow on Sigma and knocks him out the window. The scene is just baffling to me. Why did he need to be disguised as Red to do that? Would Sigma not just as easily have grabbed Axel? Wasn't he specifically after him? None of it makes any damn sense. Afterwards, Axel asks X to finally give him some props, and X is like, "No! Beat it!" And that is literally the end of the game. There is a ton of wasted potential in Mega Man X7 because the idea of a 3D X game is good. Look at how even Mega Man Legends did something similar. Probably the most egregious thing about X7 is that X isn't even playable initially. You need to either rescue 64 Reploids or beat all 8 Mavericks to unlock him. So I have to beat Mega Man X7 in order to play as him. What kind of bullshit is that?
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary... Oh my goodness!
Referring back to when I said that this game fails on every conceivable level, well, it even fails at being an X game because X is barely in it. Even the name of this game is a farce. The developers at Capcom said they knew they wanted this game to be in 3D from the beginning. They wanted something bigger and better than X6. I could hardly blame them for their lofty goals, but it's pretty clear they missed the mark.
Oh, hi Mark.
They were even planning to make the game multiplayer, but ultimately decided against it. I assume out of mercy for humanity, limiting the suffering down to just 1 player rather than 2. The good news is that X8 is a better game, but sadly, I think this was the one that officially killed the series. Capcom flew too close to the sun, and their glide armor freaking melted. Thanks for going to hell with me, viewers. I hope you all had a good time. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more Mega Man content. Special thanks to David Saperstein, Zen, Curious Curse, Bosick, Chaz Bazenko, and Jilly Mays. You truly are Mega Men and Mega Women. Thanks for being supporters of the channel, and if you want to be a supporter too, join my Patreon. See you all on the X8 video.